This is the Spartan Body Mind Podcast. I'm your host, Seth Winterhalter. Today we're talking about people pleasing. How do we stop being people pleasers? What does it mean to be a people pleaser, and how do we stop doing that in an unhealthy way? Glad you're joining us on the Spartan Body Mind Podcast. I want to encourage you, if today's topic interests you, if growing healthier physically, mentally, emotionally interests you, and encourage you to come check out the free Facebook group we have, Spartan Body and Mind, and would encourage you to jump in and test drive our Spartan program. You can go to thespartanprogram.com and learn more about that. We do a special $99 test drive where you can spend a month with us and test drive the entire program, the group sessions, the online private group, and the interactions that go on there. We want to see you become the best version of yourself. And so consider joining the program, and then you can, the $99 test drive, you can then become a full member anytime after that. So encourage you to check that out. Today, people pleasing. Why people pleasing sucks, man. It just sucks to get caught up in people pleasing. And how do you know if you're a people pleaser? Because I would have never assumed or thought of myself as a people pleaser. You know, I was a leader. People pleasers to me, the first thing I think about is just someone who's weak, someone's always following, someone who doesn't really have a direction for their life. And I'm none of those things. I have clear direction, clear purpose. But there are other aspects where I would end up trying to make everyone happy around me. Instead of, and not in everything, but in some things. And so that's where today I want you to really wrestle with this, because I think we all have a temptation in some aspects of our life, in some ways in our life, to be people pleasers. So here are three things to think about how we might be people pleasing and how we can stop. Number one is you're not leading yourself. You're not leading yourself. If you're someone who's always waiting for someone to give you direction, this is a sign that you have a tendency to people please. And again, depending on how old you are and what area of life, like we all need influencers. We all need, especially when we're growing up, we need direction, right? We need leaders and mentors in our life. But there comes a time when you have to take ownership. There's one thing to have mentorship, to get insights, to get wisdom. But are you taking ownership of your life? Are you leading yourself? Or are you waiting for everyone to do the work? Are you waiting to be told? And the reason why we do this is because we're afraid, right? People pleasing really comes from a place of fear. We're afraid to take responsibility because we're afraid that we may fail, and then we're afraid that that will fall back on our identity. We don't want to take the risk. We want to be able to go, well, I just did what you said. You know, you told me where to go to college. You told me what vocation to go in. You told me this, you told me that, and I just did it. And so if it fails, I'm now not responsible. I can blame you and say, well, you told me to do it and I did it and it's your fault it didn't work out. And do you know people like this? Do you know people that they just seem to have a lot of excuses for why the life isn't good for them? And those excuses are everyone else. Well, it's everyone else's fault that my life isn't great. It's everyone else's fault that I'm poor. It's everyone else's fault that I don't get promoted. It's everyone else's fault. It's never their own fault. And I think this is a sign that you're a people pleaser. You're trying to please everyone by not taking responsibility for yourself. And so first, you have to lead yourself. And this can come, when it comes to Spartan Body and Mind, your health. If you're blaming, well, I tried this diet and it didn't work. I tried this diet. You're trying things, but you're never taking real responsibility. You're never going, I just need to be healthy. And again, there's trying things, but there's taking ownership to go, it's me. I'm the reason. It's not that my coach failed me or my diet failed me. It's that I'm not doing the work. I want to be coddled. I want to be comfortable. And I just want it to happen easily. Well, nothing of significance happens that way. And so I want to encourage you. Why are you not leading yourself? Is it because you don't want to take responsibility? Is it because you want to you want everyone else to tell you because you're afraid of taking risk? What could that be? Why are you not leading yourself? That could be sign number one that you're struggling with people pleasing. Sign number two, you're just not healthy. I think a clear sign that you're people pleasing, and this is for me at least, when I became physically unhealthy. In my moments, people who know me, even from college, know that my weight was always kind of fluctuating. I get into really good shape, and then I would just let myself go. And really, the letting myself go wasn't like I was just being lazy, or it was because I would throw myself into something else entirely. I kind of have a personality where I'm all in. Whatever I'm doing in life, I'm all in. There's very little, and I have to grow in this area. There's very little in my life where I'll be right. I'm in third gear in this. I'm in fourth gear in this, and I'll just be in neutral here. Everything's like top speed, Top Gun, all out chaos. And in some ways that can be. I don't know if it's healthy at all, but in some ways it's really powerful because I've done some really amazing things. But part of the problem is I would become unhealthy physically, which would lead to unhealth mentally and emotionally because I'd be so all in on some big project or let's launch this nonprofit, let's plant a church, let's start a business, let's do this. And because I was so focused on that thing, it would tempt me to not take care of myself. So I would be so focused on being successful and serving the people that were a part of this new thing that I wouldn't serve myself. And especially if you're in any kind of nonprofit work, any kind of ministry work, even in the space of social work, where you're pouring specifically into specific individuals, you're a counselor, you're a pastor, you're someone in the field working directly with people that you know and build a relationship on a day-to-day basis. You're just in a very tempting space to take care of others around you instead of taking care of yourself first. And I just want to warn you, this is where people pleasing comes in the most. It's with people who work directly with others, specifically when those others need help. Those others need assistance, right? As a pastor for 20 years, as a counselor, I'm working with people who need help. And it was so easy to say yes to them because everyone's in a hard space. Everyone's going through hard times. Marriages and parenting conflicts and life conflicts and vocational conflicts and relationship conflicts. And it's just like they need you. They need this help. They need this counseling. And so I would adjust my schedule. And I didn't see that as people pleasing, but it was. I wanted to be a savior. I wanted to be a help to people. So I put them above me, and it caused my unhealth to the detriment of my health, 100 pounds overweight, and in some psychological ways, really unhealthy mentally, feeling this weight and guilt and shame if I didn't jump. And right, I just felt like a fireman. I had to respond to all the fires around me at whatever time they are, because that would make me a good pastor. That would make me a good friend. That would make me and I just wasn't taking care of myself. And I almost saw it was people pleasing. And I almost saw it as a badge of honor. Well, look at me. Look how much I serve. And that's just foolish. I want to call that out in me, and I want to call that out in you if that's you. That is not healthy. And you shouldn't be bragging about that. You being unhealthy to try to make people healthy is the most bass-ackwards thing I've ever heard of. And I did it, so I know. I'm calling myself out there. And that's what it took. It took me calling myself out and saying, that is the stupidest thing ever. You're not giving anything of consequence when you're living that way. You need to have a cup, and that cup might not be able to be full all the time, but it has to have something of consequence in it. It has to have some physical health. It has to have some mental health. It has to have some emotional health so you can pour healthy things out of. I think that if you are unhealthy in those ways, it's really hard. It's a dichotomy of weirdness. When I see overweight, significantly overweight pastors preaching about sin and not getting caught up with sin when they're obviously gluttons, that doesn't make sense. That's a dichotomy. That's hurting your authority. That's hurting your witness. And it's the same thing with, not just in ministry, it happens with all kinds of areas in life. That doesn't mean you have to have a six-pack body and be a physically marble statue, but you can't be significantly overweight and think that that's not hurting your authority, that's not hurting your influence. And so, what's another sign of people pleasing? That you're just not healthy. And it's easy to see physically, but the fractures of you not mentally sharp and especially emotionally, you'll just see the culture around you is starting to mirror your emotional ineptitude, your emotional unhealth, your emotional immaturity. And so I want to encourage you, be mindful of your health. And if the things around you aren't going well, maybe it's because of you and what you're pouring out. So people pleasing sucks. It sucks because you won't lead yourself. It sucks because it can make you unhealthy. Finally, number 3, people pleasing sucks because it really hinders your forward momentum. What's a sign that you're people pleasing? You're really directionless. You're waiting, just like the first thing, you're not leading yourself. The third thing can be you're not really moving forward in any direction. You're afraid to take risks. You're afraid to upset people. You're so concerned with how you'll be perceived that you are not really moving in any direction. This could be you waiting for people to tell you. It could be, in an organization, whether it's a nonprofit, a business. How many committees do you have? How many people do you have around you doing the surveys, doing the right, all the things that are trying to get the feedback? Like, you just won't make a decision. You as the leader, your executive team, you're just so nervous. And again, I'm not saying committees and surveys; those things have a place and they have a purpose. But if your company is just bogged down by that, it could be because you're directionless. And if you personally are bogged down, you really don't know where you're going. Life is just on the hamster wheel. It's just the repeating day by day. I think that leads to unhealth. That could be why you're physically, mentally, emotionally unhealthy. It's because your life has no direction, has no purpose, right? Humans are unique among every other thing created on earth, is that we really have this drive to be purposeful. I think that's one of the issues that I see when people retire. Why so many people, their health declines so rapidly after retirement, is because their purpose in life was so tied to what they did vocationally. And that's one of the things I think it's powerful to vocationally, right, to find purpose in your work. That there's nothing wrong with that. I think that can be a good thing. But you have to find purpose in more than just your work. You have to find purpose in every area and aspect of your life, because you are a human being and you should be experiencing all of life with purpose, right? Your marriage, your friendships, your relationships, your parenting, your avocation, your vocation, your totality of life, specifically in your relationships, should have purpose. And the more purpose you have, the more you know what you're giving your life to, the more I think you're not going to be steered and tempted to be people pleasing. Instead, you're going to be people engaging. You're going to be engaging people with health instead of waiting for people to tell you what to do or being swayed by what you assume. And that's the problem with people pleasing. There's so much assumptions in it. So how does this affect health? This affects health because it's hard to be healthy when you have a mindset of people pleasing. And so I want to encourage you, look in your life and see where you may be tempted in giving in to people pleasing. And I would encourage you specifically, you're probably, the people listening to this I'm most concerned about are those that would never think that they're people pleasers. They would never put that term onto them, because I was that. I would never in a million years call myself a people pleaser. But when I looked over this last year specifically, I just unpacked a lot of my life and looked under the hood and did some massive assessments. Because I really wanted to grow, I really wanted to transform, I wanted to become the healthiest version of myself. And what I found is there are aspects of my life where, man, I was really unhealthy in people pleasing. And I'll be really honest with you and transparent, it wasn't necessarily reality. And what I mean by that is this: it wasn't that I was waiting for people to tell me what to do or what to think, or it was by assumptions. I assumed how people thought about me. I put onto people what they felt about me, what they thought about me. And so I lived out of assumptions. I need to serve. I need to be this picture of what I think a healthy pastor, a serving pastor is. And so I lived out of a picture that people didn't even believe. Right? No one actually told me that. I was just assuming. I created a picture. So I was people pleasing something that didn't even exist. And so I want to encourage you, just be a person who assesses yourself specifically with this, because if you're unhealthy, it could be, and if you are trying to get healthy and you're like, man, the diets aren't working, the training's not working, what is going on? I want to encourage you. It could be because you've got some things between your ears, such as people pleasing, that's impacting you making yourself a priority. That was me. I didn't make myself a priority because I made everything else a priority, because I felt guilty making myself a priority. I felt guilty going to the gym as regularly as I did. I felt guilty about eating the way I did and missing out on things in life. And until I took control of myself and said, no, these sacrifices, these things that I do actually help me give the best version of myself to the people that matter most to me. Until I did that work mentally, once I did that work, it helped keep the train on the tracks. One of the reasons why your train might keep jumping off the tracks is because you haven't done that work in your mind to really work through some things that could derail your attempts to get physically healthy. So, hope that helps. Hope that causes you to think a little bit. Thanks for joining us on the Spartan Body Mind Podcast. Want to encourage you again, check out the Spartan Program.com. That's where we do this work. Part of the Spartan Program is, yes, we want to help you with nutrition, want to help you with training, I want to help you with recovery and how you sleep and rest. But what makes this program unique is we do a lot of work between the ears. We do a lot of work with mindset to help you work through some of the things that will not only help you achieve the results you want to achieve with your physical, mental, emotional health, but helps you then sustain yourself, helps you not just get the results you want and then hopefully you can keep them. No, it helps you become a person who will sustain those because you have the right mindset and you have the right habits. And so if that interests you, go to thespartanprogram.com. We're doing the $99 special right now where you get to test drive all the group sessions, weekly group sessions. You get to test drive the private Facebook group and be a part of the community and see what's going on there. And then at any time you can join the full program if that's what you desire. So we'd love to see you there. Go join this Facebook group and check out thespartanprogram.com. All right, until next time.